Hey, how you guys doing? So we got news about LOVELIVE BLUEBIRD, so I figured it's time to discuss it. So first and foremost, what do we know beforehand? Well, we knew the name of the project, and we got one video where we got to see basically a very dramatic look at one of the girls for LOVELIVE BLUEBIRD, presumably the main character. And beyond that, we also heard it was kind of like Hard Life Club. But that's really all we got from it, so we were just left to speculate how many girls are there, why is it so dramatic, does that mean it's going to be a very intense story? Well, this trailer that they just released kind of makes it a little more confusing, but let's of course talk about what they covered. So the first thing I should discuss is when we're going to learn more. So let's show that. It's going to be May 12th. So it looks like we're only, 2 weeks away from learning more about that. Hopefully I'll be able to have time to discuss it. I'll be kind of busy around then, so we'll see. But I'll definitely do my best to learn more about it. But yeah, we're not that far away from it. So let's go over what else this trailer shows. So I want to stop here because there's a few things we need to discuss, and of course the first thing it shows is a very social media like interface where we have messages pop up, and of course I'll talk a little more soon about the way it looks, but the thing that it stops right here is look at that J shape. Isn't that a bit familiar? You know, that's Japan obviously, but so obviously it's talking about how, you know, a bunch of people doing social media posts across Japan. So there were some theories, people thinking, oh, so this is mean there's a bunch of idols across Japan. I don't necessarily think that. I think this is just showing you how we as fans from, you know, real life or in the story are going to interact with the amount of girls that are going to be in the story. So let's continue on so I can discuss more about what else they're shown. So let's go to that. So if you paid attention, these social media looking posts look like they are very reminiscent of something. So first, let's go over what the statement says. It more or less says the school idol project that we are having here, LOVELIVE BLUEBIRD, is going to be mainly unfolding on two platforms, X and YouTube, which I swear I heard of YouTube before. So it looks like that's how they're going to handle the story. So in some ways that does have a little bit of reminiscence of what we had with Link Live Love Live, the Hasuna Sora girls. They have their own app, Link Live Love Live. The majority of what they're doing is on that application, but there's other things you can do with it. But they, you know, also try to make sure they post a lot of their content on YouTube. But the main goal is that app. Here it's different. We have two social media platforms, YouTube, where that's probably the better platform for getting a bunch of video out, but they also want to do X, or aka what used to be called Twitter. And now you start thinking about, what was Twitter's old logo? It was a blue bird. Now I thought it was a little silly that they would name a bluebird after Twitter, and that thought did cross my mind, but I was like, well, why would you name a project after a social media platform, but B, a one that has changed? So I guess the interesting thing is, if you remember, Elon Musk bought Twitter in the course of 2022. It took about most of the year for the actual process, but late 2022. So that was about 3 years ago. And started thinking about, well, it takes time to set up projects like these, to build characters, build a story, hire seiyus, and train them, and start getting some songs to get momentum rolling. So you can think potentially they could have been starting on the groundwork for this project in 2022, 2021, back when it was still called Twitter. Interesting, I would say, but I guess that could kind of make sense and that lines up. So it looks like the way these girls are going to be handled is that we're going to get stories through that way. Is that good or bad? I don't know, but they're definitely trying to do something yet again different, and they're focusing on probably trends where social media really dominates a lot of things. So we can go on at Twitter or X and see a bunch of content through there and follow through them that way, and, you know, maybe that helps them get more viral content and such. And, you know, you do the same thing with YouTube. I don't know how worldwide friendly or global friendly this is going to be, because again, what we saw with Hasuna Sora, I'm hoping we don't have the same struggles with that. Hasuna Sora is very popular in Japan, but past that, it's like, it is pretty non-existent. Like, who knows what these girls are? And that's kind of the issue. At least for things like Twitter and X, they have the auto translate for if they do pose, but what if they do video? That auto translate doesn't really exist, or it's kind of really mediocre how it's handled. So there's that worry that comes for that way. But of course, this is all pure speculation. But we have more things to cover for this, so let's cover the rest of the video first before I finish off with my thoughts.
イキスライブラブライブブルーバード2025年5月12日スタート
So that was the rest of the video, and it finishes off with the silhouettes of all these girls. So there are 10 girls here, and some people are speculating, wait, is one on the left the real life girls, and the 5 right are the girls in their idol forms? I don't know if that's true, honestly. My guess is no. But who knows? But it looks like probably they're going to be 10 girls. Of course, Love Live loves having more girls. More girls means more merchandise, more seiyus, more songs, more opportunities for sales, really. And, you know, they already did 5 with Liella, and I don't know if they want to hit 5 again, but some people really like that concept, so maybe they want to revisit that. But, I don't know, just one thing I would say is if there was a real-life version versus the idol-esque version, you would probably think the character heights would line up, but they don't look like it from a quick glance, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that's not the case. It's 10 girls, and they're going to start with 10. Will they expand? I don't know. That seems like they're all trying to do that trend now, so it could, but for right now, it looks like we're going to start with 10 girls. So, do we know anything about these girls? No. Granted, I'm assuming one of the girls who's talking in the background is going to be one of these girls. Probably the main character. What does the main character look like? Yeah, well, it's gotta be this girl, right? That's the only girl we actually know. I imagine she's main character because you probably showed the main character first. And out of these 10 girls, which one would that be? Well, left to right, I'm guessing number 6, so the girl who's in the middle right. So, because if you can see the way the hair kind of matches. So that's my guess at least. But anyways, those are the 10 girls we have, and we can probably learn more about the YouTube and X accounts. I already followed them. So I can give you links to that if you're interested in subscribing to those as well to learn more about these girls soon enough. But that's basically all what we know so far. And I'm curious to see, based on, I guess, the silhouettes, what character calls out to you, you know, 1 through 10, 1 being the leftmost and right being the 10 most. Which character, based on silhouettes, are you most intrigued by? I'm curious to see about that in comments below. Alright, so now that I got all that out of the way, what are my feelings and concerns? I want to start with my concerns. So, I'm starting with 10 girls, fine, that's nothing special, nothing new. Them having a YouTube channel, again, that's fine. In fact, I use YouTube, and I use it a lot. But first and foremost, how much is this going to compete with Hasuna Sora? Because it almost feels like doing similar-esque things. One's virtual idols. Now, this one's going to be more like social media influencer idols, I guess. But probably my main concern is, how are they going to handle global fans? That's what I am. Are they going to make it global friendly? Are they going to put the effort of putting a bunch of subtitles? This is supposedly a main project, right? So you think they would get that kind of support. They would get a bunch of subtitles so people in English or Spanish or French can understand what they're saying without having to go through the pain of learning Japanese or rely on fan translations, which takes time and gets delayed. That's definitively my biggest concern, because it just kind of sucks. Because every time I talk about Hatsune Sora, I'm like, it's cool, I like a lot of songs, I like the characters, but I don't even get invested too much, and I can't really talk about it to other people because they are not themselves getting invested in it, because, you know, there's plenty of other things you can do that doesn't require that extensive amount of effort to go through. It's great for people in Japan, it's great and all, but for people outside, it kind of sucks. On top of the fact, one of the things is great about Hatsune Sora is they have a lot of content, but it's quantity over quality, and, you know, high quality stuff tend to stand out more. So I'm hoping this project has higher quality, but, you know, how much is it going to play out where we have to be following all the stuff that happens on X? Dude, like, am I gonna miss a lot of story because this is just a bunch of posts and I just don't see it? Is that how I'm gonna follow this? How this project goes? That's kind of interesting, but at the same time, I don't know if that's good or not. Is that there's always gonna be summaries on YouTube? What are they gonna upload to YouTube? You would think since they're talking about a YouTube channel and that's how the story's gonna go, that they could have story there. But of course, the final and largest question for a lot of you is, will they get an anime? So it seems pretty screwed to the point where it's not gonna get an anime. You're just gonna get the quote-unquote 3D anime, is what they say. But where do you have those animated stories? But it's not an anime. It's nowhere near that, and it's just not as nice. So, and the hope, of course, is they get anime. That's the biggest appeal to a lot of people. That's what get people into the group, and that's just where a lot of the highest quality stuff comes from. And that's what a lot of people give praises for, and that's what I like to give praises for as well. So, of course, we don't know. It could be that they do have an anime, but they're just going to upload those videos to YouTube, and you just watch it on YouTube. And especially if they have subs, dear Lord, that would be amazing. Imagine if we can watch a whole anime on YouTube here, as as stuff airs and such. That would be incredible. I would love something like that. And then you can get smaller supportive content through X, I guess, where they have social media posts, or you can get snippets and teasers, and you can get content that is not as high quality as you get from an anime. So you can get small side videos. You see the girls interact, some lesser animated deals, or you can get some shorts and such like that. Right then, that's my kind of ideal world. But then, the last question I have is, if you listen to the OST in the background for this trailer, it seemed kind of happy, cheery, kind of light, almost uplifting. And that's a strong contrast from the way they initially revealed it, where they're talking about it's a hard life club or something like that, and you got that intense dramatic music. So how is that going to play in here? Of course, for a lot of people, for social media, there's a lot of anxiety that comes from it, and a lot of people are joking on how, since it's going to be an X, a lot of people hate that app, and how that gives them a lot of pain, and that's how it's going to be played here, and that probably is what it's going to be here. But it's kind of strange how they had the two different tones in the only two trailers that they've shown. So I guess there's times when they're going to be happy, times when they're going to be sad and dramatic. How's that going to play? Who knows? But I'm curious to see what your guys' opinions on that, and how you think that's going to be implemented. I still would like to see some kind of more intense, dramatic, serious tone where it's not everything sunshine and rainbows, because I've already seen that a few times. It would be nice to see something a little more impact. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about this all in the comments below. And what's your favorite character based on what we see here? I'm just curious to see. Of course, it means nothing, so whatever you feel like. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in another video soon.